Hello.
What's up? Hello, everyone. Oh my gosh. I wonder if it got that hello from Alyssa at the beginning.
I
But
hope not.
today we are here going to be talking about Survivor season 42, episode 10. So my name is Rachel.
I'm Alyssa, and we had some technical difficulties with starting the stream, so you may or may not have heard an Easter egg of me giving our introduction. So, this episode of Survivor was definitely an episode. We saw the fall of one of the most strategic players in the game, I would say, and so it was quite the episode for Hai and for everyone else.
Yeah, I think we'll just start every podcast now with Alyssa whispering hello into the mic. That'll be our new catchphrase.
That sounds like a bad idea, but okay.
Just like howdy doody. That's our new one. So, yeah, like Alyssa said, episode 10, starting off with some confessional recap. We sort of fell off of this for the past few episodes of the podcast, but for confessionals, an update now. Now, Lindsay and Jonathan are tied for the least number of confessionals this season thus far with 19. Before we were talking about this, and Lydia was the winner of the least number of confessionals earlier, and then Lindsay became the winner of it, and now Lindsay and Jonathan are tied for the least number of confessionals, which I thought was interesting because Jonathan, for one point in time, was getting a lot and like being the main person we were seeing on the screen a lot of the times.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of those things where Jonathan gets a lot of like secondhand visibility where people will talk about Jonathan a lot, especially Jeff. I feel like we heard a lot of Jeff saying, like, oh, Jonathan's the best, but he doesn't really get to talk to the camera as much.
That's true. And I guess it goes with what we saw this episode, where a lot of people are maybe targeting Jonathan and also saying Jonathan sucks at strategy. So that could be a reason why he's getting less confessionals now. And maybe because of that, his winner chances have plummeted because he's not getting that kind of strategic confessional screen time. For most number of confessionals, Mike is still leading the charge here, the winner of the most number of confessionals at 37. Hai, who got voted out this episode, spoiler, he had the second most number of confessionals at 35. So now the second place person is moving up because Hai got voted out.
Yeah. I think even though Mike has the most confessionals, I would say he is not the most likely to be a winner at this point in time. So
Yeah. Speaking of, we see Mike getting really angry at the beginning of this episode, and it's sort of like a theme that we saw throughout this episode where Mike is really mad that he got bamboozled and tricked into voting Roxroy out by Hai, which I don't know, I guess I was a little bit confused about throughout this episode because he was mad at Hai because he felt like Hai forced him to vote Roxroy out, but I was like, nobody forces you to vote someone out. Like, you could have said no.
you vote for yourself, and if someone else doesn't like it, like that's on them. And I feel like it's been a pattern for Mike where he will be like, oh, I don't want to vote for this person, and then he votes for them anyway and then gets upset at himself, and it's like, Mike, just like stand up to the person.
But it sort of seems like he's using him voting for the person he says, oh, I gave my word to, I'm not voting for them. I gave my word to Roxroy. I feel so bad that I voted Roxroy out. And then is using that as a reason to vilify Hai here, which I don't know. It's sort of like roundabout backwards thinking, similar to Mike having a big grudge against Chanel because Chanel wrote his name down. It's like he's getting mad at these people for playing the game of Survivor and then holding these super big grudges against them and not willing to like look past that everyone is playing a game. You're going to have to do things and say things. But then he's like, Hai forced me to do this. I don't like him anymore. Kick him to the curb.
Yeah, and I feel like Omar definitely like encouraged that, and like it was a good move for Omar, but like oh, Mike.
I'm just sort of confused because Mike just keeps getting these grudges against people that I wonder if it's going to maybe rub people the wrong way. If Mike makes it to the end of the game, are people going to be like, you know, you played really emotionally, you played very personally, that like you have these grudges that you aren't willing to look past in order to play the game of Survivor. I wonder if people could frown upon that if he makes it to the end of the game.
Yeah, I feel like they definitely could, because it's just not a good look. So
seems like Mike's winner chances are dropping here, like we just said with Jonathan. Not too good for Mike here.
yeah, so
But speaking of good things, Marianne's winner stock seems to be rising because she has now found her second hidden immunity idol. I thought it was funny because we have a scene of Lindsay also looking for the idol, and then she literally touched the parchment and then missed it. And then it had like the little thing of here's the paper, and then she missed it, which I was like, oh dang, that really sucks.
I felt so bad for her, especially because when we started getting Lindsay screen time and she was out looking for an idol, I was like, oh, we're getting Lindsay screen time because she's going to find the idol. But no. But I feel so bad for Lindsay. This is the first episode where like she's actually gotten any amount of screen time. I feel like we've seen bits of her like at the merge when we saw everyone, and like towards the beginning of the game when we saw everyone, but like poor Lindsay, like in addition to not having that many confessionals, also just like didn't get as much secondhand visibility as Jonathan did. So I feel like she's definitely the person left in the game that she's there. Definitely not like purple heathered, but she's not gotten as much visibility as nearly anyone else.
Yeah, sort of like the person we know the least about because she has gotten the least number of confessionals. But like what you're saying, Jonathan has sort of been in the forefront of a lot of things, especially with his challenge prowess, that it does seem like Lindsay, we haven't really seen too much of in terms of strategy. Besides this episode, this could be her like shining moment star episode where she's going to bulldoze to the end, sort of like last season at the merge episode. That was like Erica's star episode where she came like started to get more screen time and then went on to win the game. This could be Lindsay's first episode where she's starting to get more of like the narrative role and speaking her mind, saying her thoughts of, hey, who do I want to vote out? I sort of want to vote Jonathan out.
I feel like she also could end up being like the person who goes home tomorrow, though. Not tomorrow.
That's what people are saying online. That's what they, bless you.
Thank you.
Sort of how Lydia went home because of the hourglass twist and she got not many confessionals. People on Reddit are thinking Lindsay might go home because of the do or die twist because she hasn't gotten that many confessionals.
Yeah, so poor Lindsay. I feel like sometimes we think that people are under edited because they're going to get twist screwed, but everyone thought for sure that Heather was getting so little of an edit because she was going to be screwed over by like the hourglass twist, but that didn't happen. So I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah, and so speaking of Marianne finding the idol, it is what everyone says, once you find one advantage or clue, it becomes easier to find something again because you already know what you're looking for. Between seasons, they might change what clues or advantages look like we've seen clues hidden in fake coconuts before. So Marianne has that upper hand because she has found the first Beware advantage, that maybe that helped her find the second hidden immunity idol, which causes Lindsay to miss the parchment because she didn't necessarily know what she was looking for. But Marianne finds this hidden immunity idol. It's a regular idol. There are no Beware advantages or any phrases or anything that she needs to say. She says that she's not telling anyone about it, so different from her original idol that everyone on Orange knew about it. So we'll have to see how that plays out. I think it's great for Marianne. Like finding two idols, that's such an awesome accomplishment.
Yeah, and I was really happy that she was like, this is going to be my idol. I'm not telling anyone else about it, just because we see time and time again that people will like say like, oh, if I find something else, I learned my lesson. I'm not going to tell anyone. And we didn't see her and tell anyone this time. So I am hopeful that this will be Marianne's idol and that hopefully she can use it to be like advantageous to her and it won't be something that ends up being like a pawn for her alliance.
Yeah, or stole it from her with the knowledge is power, which it was interesting last season. Nasir got voted out at the Double Tribal Council, similar to where Drea and Marianne both played their idols. So last season, an idol went out at that final 10-9 vote. And so it's interesting that nobody last season found an idol again after Nasir got voted out with an idol, Shan got voted out with an idol. So it was rumored from like last season's cast that people maybe thought Danny had an idol after they were voted out with an idol. So maybe an idol was re-hidden, but like Danny never found it or anything like that. Or maybe I just wonder, like, was an idol re-hidden last season or not? Or if this is something new for this season that they're re-hiding idols after they've been played or voted out with an idol.
Yeah, so I think it will be interesting because there's still a lot of advantages floating around. Drea still has 3, and I feel like they definitely started mentioning the amulet more this episode because Hai was the target and Hai is one of the 3 amulet holders. So
that's why I sort of wish they didn't re-hide the idol because there's potentially 3 idols still in play, and next it's final 8. And so like Marianne has this new idol, Mike has an idol, there's the amulet idol. So there's already 3 idols at final 8. It just, I don't know, I feel like it seems like too much. And I wouldn't really be surprised if Marianne, Mike, and one of Drea or Lindsay, because those are the 2 amulet holders, they can all make it to final 5 because there's only 2 votes left after this week. We're at final 7 next week to get to final 5. So I'm sure like they're not all going to be targets. So the people with idols and whoever gets that amulet idol, I think can easily make it to final 5. So I sort of wish they stopped hiding advantages now.
yeah, and I wish that there was like consistency between seasons. To like know whether or not like idols are going to be re-hidden. So
that's what I'm saying. If they didn't hide another idol last season, that could be the case. Or maybe no one last season found a hidden idol after Nasir and Shan were voted out. But I don't know. I'm just like, it's final 7 and there's like 3 idols floating around. That is way too advantageous for people.
and then you're going to end up with another person being Sareed. So
yeah, alas. Well, hopefully it doesn't happen, but it could definitely happen after the do or die twist next week. But we go to the reward challenge, and it is a balance the sandbag on a platform, and then you have to land this sandbag on another platform, shooting it, and then you can win a pizza reward and then a trip to the sanctuary, as Jeff says, to go to sleep.
I gotta say, the sanctuary sounds a little bit ominous. So
They didn't call it the sanctuary last season.
no, it was weird. But I feel like this was kind of like an open and closed reward challenge. The only people who ever seemed to have a chance were Jonathan and Lindsay. And Lindsay, I guess, is just better at throwing sandbags.
I liked how this challenge at the end, everyone was on an equal playing field. So it wasn't just like, oh, because Jonathan and Lindsay were out of the gate faster, that they would automatically win this reward. But like almost everyone pretty much got to the throwing the sandbag part. So it's sort of up to like luck and skill at that point. Whoever can land their sandbag first wins the reward. So it doesn't just mean, hey, Jonathan got there first, of course he's going to win. So it's sort of like that it sort of evened the playing field. Like anyone really could have won. It was just whoever could be better at the sandbags at the end, because a lot of people were missing and a lot of people got there.
I feel like it's one of those things where if you do get there earlier, though, you kind of have an idea of like how hard you need to throw and like what works and doesn't work. So getting there early does provide a little bit of an advantage, even if there is some luck involved.
Yeah, some advantage because you get more practice on it, but it's definitely something like, even if you, I guess, if you're doing this at home, you'll be better at it than if this is your first time throwing a sandbag on the island. But I liked how it felt more fair than other challenges that we've seen.
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't know, this might be a little bit nitpicky, Alyssa. I really did not like how they kept on showing clips where there's water droplets on the camera. I was like, okay, it's aesthetic. It makes sense. It's raining so hard. They want us to be in the shoes of the castaways, how much it's raining, see what the players are feeling. But I was like, it was hard to see the challenge because the water droplets on the camera lens were blocking the whole screen.
I mean, it could just be that they didn't have any footage that didn't have water droplets, because if it's raining that hard, you're not going to be able to wipe your lens every,
But
like,
they had the regular footage, and then they kept on interspersing their water drop footage.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We both wear glasses, so it just I like when it's raining outside and you wear glasses, it is terrible because it gets that same like water droplet on your glasses, like the lens effect that they were going with. I was like, I can't see. If it's raining, I am wearing contacts because it is a
Exactly.
pain in the butt.
Rain in my glasses was like 50% of the reason why I switched to contacts instead of glasses. So,
It's so annoying.
but Lindsay wins and she chooses Omar to go on the reward for her. And then she asks Jeff if she can choose another person, and Jeff's like, sure. And she chooses Mike. And the three of them head out to the pizza reward together. And they have pizza. And then this was the thing that like freaked me out. They're like sitting around talking, eating their pizza, and suddenly out of nowhere, there's this like echoey voice like saying Lindsay's name or something. And I was like, is this supposed to be a fever dream? Like, are we about to get Lindsay medevac because she's having hallucinations? But no, it was their family videos. So that was a little bit anticlimactic for me personally.
It was like scary ghosts talking to them. I felt like the reasoning to pick Lindsay picking Omer and Mike make a lot of sense. And you can't really be mad at Lindsay for picking those two people because she said, Omer hasn't been on any rewards yet. That makes sense. Mike has only been on one reward. That also makes sense. So it sort of seems fair that she's picking these people because they haven't been on any kind of food rewards yet and they haven't won anything. Even if you like low key want to talk strategy with these people, nobody can really get mad at Lindsay for saying, why did you pick Omer for the reward? Because Lindsay said he hasn't won anything yet. If you brought that up, you'd sort of look like a meanie person.
Yeah. And like it's one of those things where it's great for her that there is a strategic reason, but she also has the cover of like, oh, they haven't gone in rewards before. So
I think that's the perfect way to do it. You need that cover that like sort of tugs at the heartstrings, is sort of sympathetic. No one can get mad at you for picking someone who hasn't eaten in, 18 days or whatever it is now that they're at. So you need that cover. And then behind the scenes, it's like, yeah, I actually want to talk strategy with these people low key, but you don't say that out loud. Like this was a good cover for her.
yeah. So good on Lindsay.
Yeah. I like the family photos and videos though. I always like seeing what people's loved ones look like. So I thought this was a really cute segment at the pizza reward.
Yeah, but I feel like we didn't get that much of their videos. Like we kind of saw them being like, "Oh, that's me as a baby." But there wasn't like a lot of emotional content about like, "Oh, this is the love of my life" or whatever. So,
Yeah, I guess that's like the weird thing about like loved ones visits or videos. They all really say the same thing like, "Oh, I love you so much. We miss you so much. You're doing a great job. We're so proud of you." Like everyone says a variation of that. So I don't know how you can spice that up because those are like the main points that you want to get across to your loved one, right?
yeah.
But back in the shelter, there was a really funny segment between Lindsay and Hai where they're saying, "Let's vote out Jonathan." And then the camera pans, and like Jonathan is like 2 feet away sitting next to Drea in the shelter. I just thought it was so funny because they're whispering about this person literally right in front of him. I laughed.
I wondered like if Jonathan was aware or not, because it didn't seem like he was aware, but also like if two people are whispering nearby to you, I feel like you have to be like paranoid.
He like sticks his ear closer, like, "What you talking about?"
Yeah.
It was a funny segment. It reminded me of in Survivor South Africa in the first episode of the most recent season where Rainier like was behind the person that they wanted to vote out and he was pointing at that person while talking to someone else in front of him. Like, "Oh, we're voting this person," behind the person's back. So like talking about Jonathan right next to him. I was like, dang. If Jonathan went home here, that would be really, really sad but funny if he was voted out because they were talking about him 2 feet away.
The other thing that's like kind of related is I thought it was really funny when in Game Changers, Keith and Jeremy were like sitting in this shelter and Jeremy tried for like 5 minutes to get Keith's attention while they're like in the shelter together, and he was just so oblivious. Like that kind of thing just makes me laugh.
Yeah, so we also see in this segment Omar at the pizza reward is making up a lie and then is telling Mike this made up lie where Omar is saying Hi is saying Mike will do anything I say in this game. Mike is my puppet. And so I was like, dang, Omar, this he made up a lie and it worked. Like just him twisting the truth. And he did it previously when he was trying to get Lydia voted out in the merge, saying, hey, Lydia wants to go against the 8. We should vote Lydia out. Sort of finding a little nugget of truth maybe, or at least twisting the perception of what people are already thinking and then using it for his advantage. I was like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a great lie because it's such a believable lie. And I feel like some people, when they lie in Survivor, they don't pick good lies. Like they pick lies that are kind of extreme. And Omar's lie was really great because it sounded like something that someone could realistically say. And it also preyed on an insecurity that Mike was already having. So it wasn't like Omar had to get Mike from loving Hai to hating Hai. It was just like nudging Mike a little bit towards like, hey, maybe Hai should go home.
Exactly. Omar picked up on, hey, I and Mike have a little bit of a fraction in their relationship. Let me capitalize on this and deepen the fraction to try to get one of them to vote the other out. And I thought that was really interesting because for Omar, when he's manipulating people like this, you have to pick the right person to manipulate because like this telling the lie about someone else to this person to get them to dislike or distrust this other person wouldn't work on anyone this season. So it's like if Omar told Drea this, like, hey, Drea, Romeo said this about you, or someone else said this about you, I feel like Drea would have went up to that person and cleared the air. Or if he did this to Jonathan, Jonathan would have went up to the person and be like, did you say this about me? But he picks the right people to manipulate because he knows maybe Mike isn't going to go and corroborate this story with Hai, so it won't get blown up in his face. Because if Mike did go up to Hai and be like, Hai, did you say this about me? It could totally have blown up and then be like, Omar, you made this up. Like, you should get voted out now.
Yeah, and now that Hai is gone, it's kind of like Omar doesn't even really need to do anything. His tracks are covered.
Yeah, and in Hai's exit interview, he was saying like Mike should have seen right through Omar's lie because Hai was saying that he doesn't speak like that, doesn't use that like phrasing terminology of like puppets and like masterminding things. So I thought it was interesting how Omar can pick the right person who are already susceptible to being swayed and then sway them in the direction that he wants.
Yeah. So good on Omar.
Yeah, I'm like, that's scary though. It's like he's really good at manipulating people like this. It's like really fun to watch.
Yeah.
So we go to the immunity challenge. It's a balance challenge. I feel like we've been seeing a lot of very, very similar challenges recently, this season, last season, that it's sort of starting to feel repetitive. I don't know. For me, on the rewatch, to watch it the second time and take notes to do this podcast, I sort of just fast forwarded through this immunity challenge because it's like the same thing every time.
Yeah, and I feel like it's just not fun to watch either because it's always like, oh, so and so loses their balance, but nice recovery. And it's like, Jeff, if I took a shot every time you said nice recovery, in like 2 minutes, I would have alcohol poisoning.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. A lot of challenges are basically like obstacle courses or balance challenge. Where are the memory challenges? Where are the puzzle challenges? I feel like we need to switch it up some. Every single thing is like a balance or obstacle course.
Yeah, people are saying it's because of COVID restrictions. They have less time to set up and less time to film, but like,
Yeah, so maybe for 43 and 44, since 43 started filming this past week, maybe some new challenges. But for this balance challenge, it got down to between Lindsay and Jonathan, where Lindsay wins. This is her second challenge win, 2 in this episode. So now she is the newest and latest challenge beast after Tori got voted out with 2 individual immunity wins. And fun fact, I guess, for Jonathan, he can't beat the record now for the most individual immunity wins at 5, but the best that he could do is tie it if he wins the next 4 immunity challenges.
Which I don't think is likely, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, probably unlikely, which is so interesting. Like, we were all, oh, Jonathan, we want to see him in the individual immunity challenges. Maybe he can break the record for the most number of individual immunities won. But now the best that he can do is tie it.
So I feel like he will probably not be that like big of a character after the season is over, just because there's a bunch of strong guys, and if you can't be the strongest, then you don't even matter.
Aw, that's so sad.
Is what it is.
But yeah, apparently Jonathan was called to do the challenge, so I could definitely see him like doing super well over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like those challenges are probably more suited to like him and his body type versus survivor challenges. They're more like, you know, the balance stuff like that we were talking about that is more equal and fair for like different kinds of people. So I think I could see Jonathan doing very well on the challenge.
I feel like it's a good thing that Jonathan didn't win, though, because if he did win, I feel like it would have been an even more straightforward vote than it was, because the whole thing was like Hai versus Jonathan. But I feel like the only person who seriously was like, oh, maybe we should vote out with Jonathan was Omar. And like, it was Omar's idea to vote out Hai. So.
And I do wonder how much of, hey, let's flip the vote to vote out Jonathan now was just to make like a TV show kind of thing, like a red herring, because like what you're saying, if it were just so straightforward, Hai is the only one, because it seems like a lot of people were agreeing, yeah, let's vote Hai out, that it would have been like, you know, too easy of an episode. Usually for these episodes, they want like, oh, who between these 2 people might get voted out? Tension, scary. So it seems like if Jonathan did win immunity, maybe they would fabricate or make up some backup target and then try to push that.
Yeah. But I guess it kind of seemed obvious to me that it was going to be Hai, just because the argument for Jonathan was so much weaker, especially because I don't think that anyone thought that Jonathan is actually capable of winning the game. So
I think for Omar, it makes so much sense for him to keep the vote on Hai and not flip it to vote out Jonathan, because it prevents Hai and Mike from connecting about the lie that Omar told. You sort of want Hai to go so Mike can't go and like reestablish that relationship or confirm this story that Omar was telling him. And it makes sense to keep Jonathan because Jonathan is still good with Omar. The brain shield, meat shield thing, it's not like Jonathan is pushing to get Omar out of the game. Like you would want Jonathan there sort of as a shield and someone to go before you, because he still will be a threat next week if he doesn't win a challenge. And I do wonder, since we've seen a lot this episode and even last episode where people are saying Jonathan's not good at strategy, yada, yada, if Jonathan can sort of become like a, you know, person that you would want to bring to the final 3 because he's not good at strategy, that you could win against him at the final 3. Because sure, if he can win challenges, that's awesome. But I don't think that you're going to win the game just because you've won a lot of individual immunity challenges. I wonder if people are seeing him less of a threat because he's not good at strategy.
Yeah, I feel like the one thing with Jonathan is he's strategically incompetent and difficult to work with, because he insists that like, oh, he thinks that he's way better at strategy than he is, which is the annoying part. And so I feel like if he was just a challenge beast who like wasn't good at strategy, they'd be fine with keeping him. But because he's kind of annoying to work with, that's where it gets kind of fuzzy.
Yeah, and voting Hai out also makes sense for the amulet holders and the people who now know about the amulet, because it helps Drea and Lindsay get to that next ring in the ladder for the amulet people. So now they can have a steal a vote if Lindsay and Drea connect together and use it, which seems doubtful. I could see Drea and Lindsay targeting each other to try to get a full-fledged idol.
Yeah, which will be messy.
So we go to Tribal Council. I'm really surprised that nobody is concerned about the original Taku 4, so the original orange team, because we have 4 orange after this vote, one green, and Mike. Mike is the last green team member standing, and then 2 blue team members left. So it sort of seems weird that like Mike, Hai, Romeo, and Drea wouldn't try to connect this vote to maybe want to actually vote Jonathan out to break up that original orange 4, because it does seem sort of risky going into next week when it's 4-3 original orange, 3 other people, that the Taku 4 could come back together and then just pagong everyone else as an original foursome.
I guess the question is, do they think that the Taku 4 is actually that tight? So
yeah, which is risky though, because even if like they don't think the Taku 4 is tight because they're like, oh, Lindsay was targeting Jonathan this week, they're not that close, they would never ever link up. If you're in their shoes, if I were there and I'm a part of the original orange 4, I low key, it would be hard to pass up like a quote easier ride to the finale or the final 5 if you just said, hey, Taku 4, let's link up for maybe 2 more votes until final 6, and then every person for themselves. Let's vote out 2 more people, and then game on. Then, it's boring gameplay, but that's the easy way to get further in the game.
yeah, I guess the question is, do the people at the bottom of the Taku 4 know that they're bottom at the Taku 4? And the answer is, I'm not even sure who I would put like in order, like within their alliance, just because I feel like everyone has complicated feelings about everyone else. So it's not like there's a clear hierarchy in the alliance, which I feel like would make it even more likely that they would continue to work together, because the number 4 person wouldn't necessarily know that they're number 4.
Yeah, and even for Marianne, if she's thinking she's the number 4, since she has sort of been on the outs of the original Taku 4, she has this new idol, so she could easily be like, heck yeah, like let me go final 5 with the Taku 4, and then I'll play my idol. Like I am good until 4, and then fire making challenge kind of thing. It's like, having a 4-3 vote right now, it's like what we saw last season when, Xander, Erica, Heather, they all linked up and then had a 4-3 vote. So it's sort of, I would be sort of nervous even if the Taku 4 don't seem close. That's such an easy way to get to the end of the game.
Yeah, but you don't always do what's easy for various reasons.
Better for us viewers if they don't link back up, because then it makes the game more fluid and fun to watch rather than a pagonging of the green team and the blue team now. Also at Tribal Council, there are just so many analogies. This Tribal Council, we had a blindfolded runners analogy and then a survivor is like Jenga analogy. So they're just pulling things out of thin air now. Just anything you can think of, you can make into something that Jeff will love.
I just feel like analogies are overrated. Just say what's happening.
Which I really liked what Lindsay said when she said, this vote is about evening the playing field. It's just vague enough that it could mean evening the playing field, let's vote Hai out because he's strategic, or evening the playing field, let's vote Jonathan out so we can even the playing field for competition. So I really liked what she said there.
Yeah, it was good and sneaky.
So for the votes, everyone voted for Hai to be eliminated, but Hai and Romeo voted for Jonathan to go home. I do wonder if Romeo was left out of the vote here, and that's why he voted Jonathan, or if he was thinking, hey, if Hai plays his shot in the dark, let me put one vote on Jonathan, so for the revote, I won't go home, and then Jonathan would go home if Hai's shot in the dark works.
I don't know. I just feel like Romeo was so out of the loop that it wouldn't surprise me if he was just left out of the vote.
Yeah, probably not good for Romeo's winner chances as well, because if you're playing from the bottom, it can be a great final 3 speech. Like, I survived all of these times and I was on the bottom. But if you're not voting correctly every single time and you weren't like brought into any sort of alliance, I don't think that looks good in a final jury speech.
Tragically, Romeo is dead in the water, so.
Aw. So next week in the preview, Jeff says it's going to be a dangerous vote. Very, very boo, because that probably means that the do or die twist is back. It happened at the final 7 last time where Deshawn got the do or die, but he picked correctly and then Liana went home. Here, it seems like we have the do or die twist again, which I don't know. I'm just sort of annoyed by because there are not that many straightforward voting rounds. I just wished we had more regular voting rounds. There are too many twists post merge because final 12 is the hourglass, final 11 is a regular vote where Chanel got voted out. Final 10 is another twist where they did the 2 split tribes. Final 8 this week was a regular vote where Hai got voted out. Final 7 next week is a twist, do or die. Final 6 and 5 are, regular votes, but there are so many advantages that need to be played by final 5 that it could be advantage get in and then cause a lot of things to happen. And then final 4 is a twist, the fire making twist. So it's like half of these votes post merge are regular and half of them have twists. I feel like it's not fun because people can't plan around an hourglass twist or a do or die twist. It's sort of like in board games where each round has a different rule. I just wished if you're going to have all these twists, maybe pick 1 or 2, but don't make every other vote like twist.
Especially because the twist votes don't actually like change the strategy. Like do or die is just plain dumb luck.
Mm-hmm.
You could argue that the final 10 vote is also just plain dumb luck of like which team you get sorted onto. And I feel like the more luck there is in Survivor, the less fun it is to watch. Because like, yeah, you need some amount of luck because there's always going to be like some amount of tribe swaps, some amount of like hidden advantages or whatever. But like if you have to rely on luck in order to win, that's where it gets less fun to watch.
And seriously, the do or die is literally just like probability and game theory. It's not like, okay, let me strategize around who is going to drop first in this immunity challenge, and then haha, they're going to get do or died out of this game. I just like cut back on all of these twists for the tribals after the merge. If you're going to do them, maybe make them pre-merge, but it just seems like for next week, I would be really, really annoyed if Drea, Marianne, or Omar got do or die twisted out of this game because it's like for Drea and Marianne, they have so many advantages. They can't save themselves with an idol if they get the do or die twist. Like those become null and void. And for Omar, he's the best strategist that we've seen this season thus far. Like if he gets do or die twisted out of this game, it's like, what was even the point then? Like everything that he's done and all of the risks and moves that he's taken was all for naught because he gets random luck chance, pick the wrong box out of the game.
Yeah, which is not fun. So
yeah, which I'm already just stressed thinking about next week. I'm like, I don't want to watch because it's just gonna be so sad either way with the do or die twist. And maybe they like changed it a little bit because they switched a little bit of things for these twists between last season and this season. So maybe there's some difference, but I'm sort of like, how can you tweak the Monty Hall problem?
You can't really unless you like offer more boxes, which I think is kind of against the whole problem in the first place. So
yeah, maybe it changes who gets put up for the do or die elimination and it's not the first person to be eliminated from the immunity challenge. Maybe they switch that part, but I don't know. I'm just like every other vote now is a twist vote. It's just like bring back the regular votes post merge because this is when it gets down to the nitty gritty. Like final 8, 7, 6, you need to have regular votes in order to set up your end game strongly to win the game. Not like, randomly the best person is going to go home or the person with the most advantages, Drea, is going to go home because she dropped first in immunity.
Yeah. I guess next week we'll have to see. It seems pretty likely it's do or die. Maybe it won't be, but I'm pretty sure that it is. Yeah, let us know in the comments down below what you thought of this episode. Was it obvious to you that Hai was going home? Did you think Jonathan was going to go home? What do you think of Hai's time on the game? What do you think about Mike believing that Hai called him a puppet? Let us know all that and more in the comments down below, and we will see